Hello and welcome back to P10C Talk, the show where we talk about almost exclusively the CZ P10C. Some CZ P10 non-Cs, some other CZs, some non-CZs, but mostly the CZ P10C and P10C accessories. As you might have noticed, there's some new players on the board. I had taken my P10Cs apart at the beginning of the year and sent them to my buddy John at JG Coatings. He's a local shooter, friend of mine, who does fantastic work. I'm not shilling, but I am promoting because he is a friend. And he blacked up some parts that needed blackening, and he came up with this. I asked him to surprise me with a camouflage or green color scheme, and this is what he came up with right here. I've got an iron sight slide, a red dot slide, backstrap, magwell, and a couple base plates, all in this sort of pattern, which is like a kind of a greener variation of woodland, which, I mean, I absolutely love how this turned out. Super excited about it. Yeah, couldn't be happier. So as I was reassembling them, I thought it might be interesting to talk about what I see in the future for this platform and some of the changes that you may have already witnessed if you've watched this channel at for any amount of time. First and foremost, and I've gone through this one in greater detail in a previous video called my P10C competition configuration recommendations or something like that. This is Old Faithful. This P10 represents my evolution into addressing quality of life issues and performance improvements on the platform as I evolved into a competition shooter. So it started out as my EDC. I started shooting in competition. I had some issues. I changed some things. Slowly and over time, it evolved into this. And this particular P10C has written most of the stories in my book of successes competitively. I highly revered. But after this point, after I reached this, some rule changes allowed for additional changes to the platform that I was unwilling to make on this one because I just have a lot of respect for what this is right here. For example, currently in the IDPA rules, they allowed for a backstrap change that could have more than 1 ounce difference from the stock one. This is like a 3.5 or 4 ounce, I guess right around 4 ounce backstrap from Taylor Freelance made out of brass. Magwell is the same, but this particular magwell had to be different because of the backstrap, but the rules were the same. They also allowed ported barrels, or compensators. So there was no way that I was going to take this firearm, this heirloom, if you will, and replace the backstrap and the magwell and then cut open the slide and obviously have to recoat it at that point. I want to keep this exactly like it is. This is another John special with the coating. It has worn a great deal because it's got a lot of mileage on it, but I just couldn't in my heart chop this thing up. So it will stay like this forever. This will represent a backup option for compact carry pistol division shooting. May even carry this occasionally. I love this gun, but I'm not willing to change it anymore. So it stays like this. This becomes this competition setup here with the iron sight slide or the optic slide, the Taylor Freelance brass backstrap, the Tony Systems magwell, and all the same internals or similar internals. This will represent my new competition baseline for IDPA. If I decide to compete in a sport or indoors where I don't particularly enjoy shooting a ported gun as much, I have a non-cut, red dot slide, and I can always go back and just pop this non-cut, P10C slide for irons back onto this frame and just roll with it, right? So I have a lot of, between these 4 slides on this one frame, I have a lot of flexibility. I can even use the non-ported slides and barrels for USPSA competition should I choose to do that. But obviously there became a need now with the dots and everything to have a feature complete or feature parity backup gun. So I decided, after a lot of thinking, that I'm going to upgrade the frame of this CZ P10 SC and get the added bonus of being able to run some SC slides in some divisions and determine if there's any benefit to the extra recoil system length or the barrel length, right? Anyway, so I have one of these slides that I'm sending off to, I think it's going to end up being Impact Machine, quite frankly, to put an Acro P2 on it. And then I'll keep this one. This one's waiting some night vision sights to be an iron sight alternative for, whatever purpose. The P-10 SC is an F slide. If you don't know, it's an F slide essentially on a C frame. And so updating the internals of the frame where relevant to match this or to meet feature parity with this platform are pretty easy to do. And I figured I'll just use this as the test bed for this box of parts that I have over here to get to that, feature parity position where my backup and my primary are the same, and just document the perceived or realized benefit along the way. So that's a long way and a lot of information to just basically say that this is my new competition platform. This is going to become my backup in most cases, or my primary in some others. And so I'm going to take this from stock configuration up to the new hotness and see how that progression actually quantifiably affects the CZ P10 C, SC, maybe even F platform. Now, the only changes I've made to this, I made pretty quickly, were my secondary modified Taylor Freelance backstrap, along with this Tony Systems unmodified Tony Systems magwell. So the benefit of having an unmodified one is, while I can't use this setup as a backup for compact carry pistol. I'll leave that to Old Faithful. I do get the benefit in either USPSA, PCSL, or IDPA's ESP or Carry Optics division of having a little bit wider magwell, if that's even really a benefit. We'll find out. I'll let you know. But so what do I have yet to do to this thing to bring it up to speed? And what am I considering not doing to meet this specification? First, the externally visible thing is I think I'm going to leave the stock slide release on it. And if, depending on how that goes, I may revert from my CZ Custom EXT slide release, which is a vast improvement over the stock one, truly. Because I've done some changes to my grip, right? And what I found is, with the way I'm currently gripping and re-gripping after reload, I'm making a little bit of contact with this that could have ramifications in the operation of the firearm. I could either be pushing it up or pulling it down and preventing a slide lock when I should get one, or when I should be expecting one, or get a slide lock when I'm not expecting it. And just because I'm really focusing on trying to get this hand cinched down on the gun in a way that's a little bit more transferable across platforms, and the shape of this just interacts with my hand a little bit more than I think I'm going to want to happen. So there's a chance that I back rev this platform with the stock slide release. IDPA doesn't require slide lock reloads like it used to, so the benefit of this has kind of dropped a little bit for me, whereas the potential risk of having it has increased. So that might not make it over to this platform and might in fact get removed from this one as well. The other part that I'm going to consider is the Apex disconnector. The Apex P-10C Action Enhancement Kit comes with 3 parts, and I talked about this in previous videos, but just to rehash, it comes with a trigger shoe that I don't really like. It comes with a disconnector that does fundamentally change the pullability, I guess, of the trigger. Makes it, it does make it lighter, makes it easier to pull. It does make it less likely to disturb the alignment of the sights. All these seem like positive things, but the cost of it is a really mushy trigger, right? And I might play around with that to see just how much I've become dependent on that sort of mush. I mean, the trigger pulls kind of like a marshmallow. I can show you, this is a stock trigger pull, and again, I don't like the stock trigger. That's going to get replaced, but we're talking about the disconnector right now. When you pull the stock trigger, or you pull the trigger on a P-10C, there's a very perceivable wall, and then you just have to defeat it with pull weight. There's a little bit of creep there. Boom, break. Okay. On a Apex disconnector enabled firearm, this is an Overwatch precision trigger, but again, what we're looking at here is the pull. After I get through the take up, there is a significant amount of creep and push, and oop, there's the break at the very end. It's mushy. It's like a marshmallow, right? Like you're pulling a marshmallow behind the trigger, and there's no, without a wall. And again, I think I can pull that trigger pretty rapidly without disturbing the sights. So there's benefit to it, and I do think it lightens the overall pull, but because the lack of a wall, right? Everything feels lighter. But there's something satisfying about that wall when you're trying to prep a trigger after having taken a shot, right? If you're just slapping the thing, I think the Apex disconnector is probably the better way to go, because there's less of that sort of abruptness to the pull that could potentially introduce interruption in the sight alignment. But at the same time, if you're trying to work through, one of the things I'm trying to work on, and I feel the need to work on, is making sure that as soon as I've already fired the firearm, I am ready to fire the other one. So I've tried the trigger slapping method, and I've run into, this is all related, right? And all of this makes a little bit of nonsense. As far as the firearms go, they're fantastic. This is a me problem. But I tend to hit a hard limit of like quarter second to a fifth of a second on splits, because I end up tensing up this hand when I'm trying to slap it as fast as I can. And that tension, it travels through my forearm, into my shoulders, goes across my back, is like electricity through your body, right? To defeat that, I'm thinking of trying to, well, my thought is that if I force myself back into the fire and prep of the trigger, rather than that sort of skipped step involved in just trigger slapping, right, that I might get rid of some of that tension in the process. Less concerned with slapping as fast as I can, and more concerned with getting a trigger prepped for the next shot. It just might work into my subconscious is the idea. That was a whole lot of like therapist talk, but it has ramifications on the P-10C, because again, this trigger is great for slapping, right? It really is. Add a wall there. Without the wall there, though, it's really kind of sketchy to prep. A lot of times I've ended up firing that second shot because the wall has largely disappeared here, right? So you slap through it, fires, and then there, I was just trying to prep that trigger, by the way. Yeah, I can't, at the very end of that trigger it's not perceived enough to like, God, can't do it. Whereas on this one, I'm at the wall, right? Boom. And I'm prepped and at a wall again. So again, in short, I'm considering not putting the Apex disconnector in this lower, and then comparing the two, having this one run all the other modifications. I'm going to put, all the other stuff I do, the striker spring, the trigger shoe, at least, for lack of a better, I don't know, what do you call that part? I know what a shoe is, like added on to a trigger, but just the trigger tooth, I don't know what the verbiage is there. And then, a couple of other internal parts. I'll put the extended mag release, because that's still really useful for dropping a mag from a firing grip, right? Whereas the stock one is maybe a little bit less accessible that way for my thumb. Everything else, I'll do the changes to, but I'll leave initially the CZ custom EXT slide release and the Apex disconnector out of the equation. On the way, I will try to quantify the improvement that's made, if one is available, outside of if there's an objective truth to be found in the modification. I'll try to record that, and I'll share that with you guys. But anyway, this has been, a fairly long reintroduction to the channel without any meat. you know, it's good to be back. It's good to be back in the P-10C. I have nationals, IDPA nationals coming up in August. I've got another major match before that. I'm signed up to shoot carry optics in both of them. Side note, I also don't have my press is under the weather right now too, so I can't make the ammo that I would like to make right now to accommodate the ports. I'm still working through an ideal load for this, the ported slides, but I'm getting closer, or I was getting closer before I sent everything off. So there's a chance that I have to pick a gun to shoot in nationals at Hoosier Daddy in Michigan at the end of the end of this month. And I'm waiting on a holster with mag pouches for the P-10C with the TLR7. And well, I do have my everyday carry holster in that configuration around here somewhere. It's not, I tried a couple independent mag pouches. My buddy Mark at Midwest Competition Works doesn't really make an official inside the waistband holster option yet, or mag pouch option. So I'm kind of in a spot where even if I want to return back to the P-10C for those matches, it might have to be, you know, this other configuration, or I might have to do it outside the waistband, which I'm trying to get away from, right? But this works holster, after I modified it, it works. And then I can use, of course, the tried and true Midwest Competition Works mag pouches, but it's going to be in Alabama in the middle of August. I really don't want to wear a cover garment if I don't have to. I'd much rather just pull up my shirt, grab a gun, and run through the course of fire. So there's a chance that I end up not shooting the P-10Cs yet. And in that case, I'll be shooting this from that same tier one concealed MSP holster that I used with the Beretta M9A4 Centurion in-stock service pistol at Illinois State IDPA Championship. So that's why this is on here, in which case this Squalo becomes the carry optics backup for this LTT RDO plus accoutrement. Anyway, so stay tuned. Stay tuned to find out if I get everything in order to be able to rely on the CZP-10Cs for those two upcoming matches, certainly most importantly possibly as nationals. There's a chance that I don't, but as soon as I am ready to shoot this thing again from appendix, I've got some appendix work to do there too. I will definitely be back competing nearer exclusivity with the CZP-10C. Lastly, happy Independence Day, America. I wish you a wonderful day of celebrating your freedom with people you care about and who care about you, doing the things you love to do. Be good to each other, stay safe, shoot straight, and I'll see you on the range.